Hi, Shan.
Hi.
So I'd like to start this conversation by thanking you. We came here at Stephen's Stables to meet you and record this episode. And from day one, when we contacted you, you've been very enthusiastic. So thank you for taking time to share your story with us. And thanks for the tour here at the stables. Shan, you are showgroom for German rider Daniel Deusser. Today you're also flat rider,
Yes.
as we met you, yeah? You will talk about that. You've been working alongside Daniel for quite a few years now. You told me seven.
Yeah.
You are living this amazing and crazy life, traveling most of your time, flying across the world, driving through Europe, and you dedicate this time, this energy, and this passion to one goal: taking the best care of some of the world's most extraordinary athletes, horses.
Yeah.
Sean, in this episode, we'll try to better understand the fundamentals of your job, but before all, we would like to know who you are. So my first question will be this one. Can you tell us your story and picture a little bit the path that led you here at Stephen's Stable?
So basically, when I was younger, I was always involved with horses growing up. My grandma actually bought me my first miniature pony when I was younger. And from then, it's like a drug. It's like an addiction. And I actually rode in England. I rode in the ring a little bit. I jumped up to 140, 145, like at a national level. But yeah, I always enjoyed the sport and enjoyed being around horses. So, and I like to look after them as well. And actually, to work for someone like Daniel, it's like a dream. It's like a dream come true when you think about it. When you watch the TV when you were younger and you see Ludger Beerbaum, Mark Husseinian, Daniel Deusser, all these big people, and now these big people are part of our family. You know, I was there when Ludger retired from the Nations Cup sport, and it was quite an emotional win in Barcelona there, and it's something. It's a drug. I think if you stop this job, it's very difficult to get out of the adrenaline rush and the non-stop, no sleep, drinking coffee and snacks. Yeah.
Okay.
Oui, c'est bon. Okay. Sean, can you tell us about you, about your personality, and then can you share a little your vision about the qualities that are absolutely necessary and mandatory to do this job with so much passion and ambition?
I think I have a very good personality. I'm going to be fun. But I can also be very, how do you say, sassy, you know? Little things get to me, and I think it's because we're always on the road, and and I spend so much time with Daniel. He could say good morning to me in the wrong way and I won't speak to him for the rest of the day. But that's just me, and he knows that already now for such a long time, so it's fine. I hope it's fine. To do this job, you have to be dedicated, passionate, sleep deprived, and you have to enjoy what you do, and you have to enjoy the horses. Otherwise, you don't succeed in this life. You can't do this job if you don't like horses. It's simple. There's no other explanation.
Can you just get the microphone? Yeah, that's perfect. So can you now tell us who you were? Can you now tell us who you were when you were like about 10 years old of age? What were your dreams when you were a kid? And and have you ever thought of becoming the groom, the rider, the professional that you are today?
No. When I was younger, I actually wanted to be a vet.
Okay.
I wanted to be a veterinarian. I always told my mum, I think at least once or twice a month, I'm going to be a vet. And actually, when I was in school, I was very, I'd say clever. I was very good at all my grades. I was very dedicated to school, and then around 15, I didn't want to do school anymore. I hated school. hated school. I only wanted to do horses. Didn't want to be a vet anymore. Yeah, it went very quickly, very fast. But when I was younger, I wanted to be a vet. But okay, I'm also in this job now working with animals. It's what I love.
And have you ever wished you could become a professional rider?
No, I'm not good enough.
Okay, you knew it.
Yeah, I knew from the beginning. I enjoyed riding, and still now I enjoy to ride on the shows every now and then, or at home like now this week when Daniel's away in Saudi Arabia at the show. I enjoy to ride, but I'm no chance I could be a professional, no.
Okay.
And how did you learn this job? You explained to us that you were at Brian Goodall's stables before, and there are a couple of training centers that have been created over the last years to become a groom, but most of the grooms we met just learned this job on their own. What about you?
Correct. When I was 15, 16, I worked weekends for John and Laura Rennick in England, and I would groom and ride. So I would ride a few horses for them and groom, and it's not like you can, this job, it's not, you can't have qualifications to do this job. The only qualifications you need is to be organised, have feeling, and love the sport, It's not something you can learn, you learn by doing. And also this job as well, whether you're 20 or you're 40 and you've been doing it for 20 years, you still learn something new every single day. A different way to close one cut on a horse, or cut the horse's mane, or there's always something new. Somebody has seen it different, and it's not that their way is correct or incorrect. It's everyone has their own system and their own way, and I think that's the only way you can learn to do this job.
So you've learned alongside Laura Renrick, right? And then did you go directly straight to Florida?
No, I actually worked for Ellen Whittaker.
Okay.
I worked for Ellen Whittaker a little bit, and then I also stopped horses for almost 2 years.
What did you do?
I was a restaurant manager.
Okay.
I did that close to home. I was in between debating if I do this job or not do this job, and I worked in a restaurant, very, very busy restaurant, very successful restaurant, very busy now I think about it. But again, it was the same crazy hours, not so many time for yourself or anything. And then I went to Brian, to America, worked a little bit there, and here I am now at Stefex 7 years later.
So you decided to come back with horses?
Yeah. It's
Why?
a drug. It's even when I stopped to do the job, I would always look at the results from the big shows. It was in the middle of the summer, I would look at the Nations Cup from Hickstead, Dublin. I was always watching the results. And I think at one point you miss the life, it's crazy how you can miss something so much, I think.
How many shows do you attend each year? Like 49, 50?
When it's a normal year with no corona, I would say between 45 and 50.
Yeah. So we know how energy consuming and demanding is the job of showgroom. Being away most of the time, waking up very, very early in the morning and finishing your days very late, especially in winter, with the indoor season like Geneva last week. Do you ever find yourself weary in this life?
What do you mean by this?
Like, do you ever feel bored, or you don't want to do that anymore? Like you feel.
I think people go through that stage. I know for sure when Corona first happened and there was the lockdown, I started to really think about life a little bit. But I don't think it's something. It's not something that can, happen like that.
Hello.
Yeah.
that's something, we talked with Grégory Wattlet yesterday.
Yeah.
We met him in his stables, and we talked about that with other writers also, like Jérôme Guéry, I think. That's the pandemic, and we talked about how this one-of-a-kind event impacted the way professionals of the equine industry work. The constellations of shows and the time spent at home. It felt like a precedent, I think. Grégory said that at some point he was enjoying it so much that it felt almost wrong to have to go back to the show.
Same.
How did you experience this period? Can you relate to that, to what he said?
I think the difference was because everybody was in the same situation. It wasn't like the rider was hurt and you were staying at home and missing out on anything. Everybody was in the same situation. Everybody was at home, not going to shows, having a normal 7 to 5 day. I quite enjoyed the Corona time. It was quite nice. I actually created an app while I was at home as well. Okay. To make groom's life a little bit easier with layover stables, links to the show, things to do for your first flight, a little step guide kind of thing. I did all of this, and this was actually quite fun. Actually, it took me a couple of months to do this, so this was fun. But it was nice to get back to the shows. It was nice to not have home cooked meals, and it was nice to be on the road again. It was. At one point, I was Googling which food to make next because it was so. There were so many dinners we had to make. In the end, I had to Google what to make next.
I don't know, Sean, if you agree to talk about this with us, but I want to talk to you about your private life. How do you and how do showgrooms find your balance between professional and personal life when we know how it's difficult to have some time to enjoy your life and this even really possible?
It's a very good question, actually. It doesn't happen so often, unfortunately. And unfortunately, we're away a lot, like you say. We're home Monday, Tuesday, maybe. The Monday is the washing, sleeping, ready for the next trip. Tuesday is packing, and Wednesday we leave again. And I think that's why you see some of the good showgrooms, they start to slow down, or they start to think about life. For sure, I've also done the same as well. I had a partner already for the last 1.5 years. We're not together anymore, and it's a shame that we don't see each other enough. It's one of them things. I don't think you can, unless there is somebody on the shows that still does the same job as you, and you live close together. I know 2 of my good friends that work for Good Riders, they're on the show together every week, and they make it work for the last 7 years, and it's fine, but it's very difficult. And nobody really, out of the horse sport, understands the life. They don't understand why you started work at 7 o'clock, and the one horse is colicking, yeah, but okay, you don't need to, you can leave the state. It's things like this, you can't, there is a very difficult balance. And I think at one point it makes people think, for sure me, yeah, I'm 31 now, it's not old, but at one point I would like to think about a family, my own house, okay, we have it good here at Steffex, we have all our own apartments, every groom has their own apartment, so we're all private from the stable, but still, it's... At one point I think if you don't think about it, it's a difficult subject actually. I didn't see my mum for, I don't even know how long. I go home for Christmas now, which is quite nice, which is the first time in 10 years. My best friend at home has had 2 children since I was away last. That's how long ago I went back to England. It's you love this job and you love this life, and then you kind of miss everything else, like weddings. And I've been to 1 wedding in my life and I'm 31 years old. And that was Danny Goldstein's, because we managed to make it work in between shows. But apart from that, I think it's very difficult. Very, very difficult.
You just said to us when we met in your stables over there that you're flying to Florida beginning of January, and we wanted to know. So it's been, I think, a couple of years that you fly to Florida to stay a few weeks at the Winter Equestrian Festival in Wellington. How's life in Wellington, and how different is it compared to Europe? And for you as a groom, but also for horses and riders.
Okay, last year was very different because of Corona. There wasn't so much happening. Everything was cancelling. All the World Cup started to cancel. We had, I think, 7 horses there for Daniel and also 7 for Zoe. And we'd gone from here where there was no restaurants, no bars, no life, to Florida where you wore the mask but you still went to the disco, you still went to the restaurants, you still did normal things, you know, and I must admit, I really like Florida. It's hard work. It's not, you know, I take 5 horses this year, and it's not like 5 horses in Saint-Tropez. Mm-hmm. It's completely different. You have horses in the quarantine, you have horses at home, you have horses at the show. It's very, you have to be very organized there. You have to be very, but I think the horses enjoy it. They get to be in the sunshine a little bit, and I mean, I can wear shorts in February, so I'm more than happy to go there also. It's nice, and now we have our own stable there now. Stefan just buy one stable there with accommodation and everything. So I think it's going to be fun this year. I think it's going to be a little bit stressful because it's our own place, and you know, it's like here everything needs to, you know, he wants everything good and tidy because we have a good reputation. I think it's going to be stressful, but I'm excited. We had a good season last year as well. He won good Grand Prix, good 150 classes, so I'm hoping we can do the same again this year.
All riders we talk to acknowledge the fact that their grooms play a significant role in their performance. Can you tell us, Sean, a little bit about this role and how important is your job?
I think Daniel would agree as well. The trust, you have to have a lot of trust. I could leave to one show and I don't speak to him for 2 or 3 days. I drive all night, 12 hours, arrive at the show, make everything ready. Me and Daniel's wife calls us an old married couple because we're together every week on the show and we spend so much time together. I know him so well, you know, when he comes out of the ring, I know when the face is straight, I don't speak to him. I leave him alone and he comes later and he speaks to me about the round. I think there has to be a lot of trust also with me and him, me to him and him to me. I think it's very important when you look at the horses you have on the truck. Like I could go to the show with Killer Queen and Tobago and that's already, I don't know how many millions in the back of the truck. And you sit there at night and you drive and you look at the clock and you're like, oh, I still have 600 kilometers to go and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I work all day, but there's something in the head that makes you go, okay, I'm their person and I have to make sure that they get there safely and they have to get there good, and I'm always the first person to freak out if one's sick. I think that's also to do with first class because when he colicked and he passed away, it's always in the back of my mind that, you know, something bad's going to happen, and I think you have to be it's very important, the job, to look after these horses.
Just after Aachen, Daniel said, I quote him, my success would be impossible without him, and the press article adds, Daniel Deusser credits groom Sean Lynch in his rise to the top. Do you think that the role of grooms as an integral element of riders' performance as the one of home riders has evolved over time? Do you believe that riders and broad public grant enough consideration to both grooms and riders' jobs?
I think somebody paid Daniel to say that.
Yes. I don't know.
I don't believe that.
I think it's a very big team effort. You have to have a good showgroom, home rider, home groom. It takes a village to run a stable, a professional stable, to have the horses good, in fit condition, also the blacksmith, the vet, everybody. But if I understand the question correctly, I don't think the grooms get so much acknowledged. They see the rider, and that's all, you know.
Is this from riders or from broad public, that they do not get enough consideration according to you?
I think a bit 50-50. I think like the public, they see the rider and they see, like you say, for instance, Aachen.
Yeah.
The horse was double clear on the Nations Cup. Germany go crazy because we're in Germany. Everything's amazing, but they don't realise that we then have 2.5 hours work afterwards with the icing, the massage blanket, the clay, all of this, and then on Sunday to come out and the horse is amazing again and wins the Grand Prix, to then think, oh, that groom actually has 3 hours work probably, 3 hours to drive home, and then to go to Saint-Tropez the next day to unpack, repack. Like when I came home from Aachen, it was midnight. I unpacked the truck, I repacked the shavings, the hay, the saddle pads, the food, everything, ready for Saint-Tropez because I was leaving the next morning to Saint-Tropez. And I don't think people understand so much or give enough credit to the grooms for what we do. You know, I think the people inside the horse sport understand. Some of them, not everybody. But I would say, yeah, I don't think the grooms are acknowledged as much as they should be.
And what about the duo rider-groom? How do you guys make it happen to the top? You said it was about trust, but what else do you need? Like, what's the recipe?
Yeah, one thing is definitely trust. I think me and Daniel are both very motivated. Like if he has not a good round, like in Geneva, when I was videoing in Geneva and it was the Grand Slam and there was all eyes on Daniel, I'm pretty sure somebody pulled out my heart when she had the fence down. The whole week was building up to this, and also in the top 10, when she stopped in the top 10 in the second round. This was unexpected.
We remember.
This was unexpected. You know, and I think if you both don't have drive and ambition and want to do good all the time, then I don't think it works so well.
Can you understand what happened in her mind? Like, she stopped. We don't know why. Like, everything was perfect.
Daniel also doesn't know, but it's not the fact about her case. She's also a mare.
Yeah.
You know, she has a very strange temperament. She already kicked me before, did the ligaments in my knee in one show. Steph Masters, she kicked me at the boot check and opened, I had blood everywhere. And then 1 week she'll be an angel. She's the most perfect animal ever. But her mind sometimes, if she wakes up and she has a bad day, she has a bad day.
Okay.
I think that's why we get on so well.
Maybe because Daniel said good morning.
In the wrong way.
In the wrong way.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Probably.
Just like you.
Yeah, no, I don't. He also, we spoke about the top 10 final, second round, all of the weekend, and none of us have a theory of why it happened.
Okay. And how is Daniel? Can you describe the rider, the workmate, and the man he is?
Deusser, he is a great horseman. He always wants to be better than he can, which I know he's my rider, but I think he's one of the best riders in the world. I think he's incredible. He can be funny sometimes. Sometimes. He is German. He can be funny sometimes. And he, not that he says it a lot, but like the thing there where he says, you know, my success wouldn't be possible without him. He does have a heart somewhere. No, he's super. I get on with him very well. We fight like a married couple, but yeah, I wouldn't want to work for anybody else. I think he's amazing at what he does. I don't think there's any rider like him that can ride these horses to the level and to the victories that he does.
You must have learned a lot and collected a lot of experience working alongside such a rider.
Yeah, that's for sure. And he reminds me a lot as well. When I forget something, he reminds me that he is my boss. And he refers to the days that he was at Franka Sugtak's place. He did this to me 2 weeks ago when he was at a national show, because we don't go to national shows very often. And he reminded me that when he was younger and he went to a national show and it was cold he just did the job because I was complaining because it was cold. No, there's been a lot of things, you know, and I ask him as well, you know, like sometimes I'll ask him, why do you put this bridle, or why do you have this bit today, or why do we change this bit now? And he has a lot of knowledge. He's very clever, and he's an incredible horseman.
What are the emotions that you go through every week at the show? Can be after a victory, as the one you wrapped with Daniel and Killer Queen this year in Aachen. Yeah, but also when things don't go as expected, do you manage to take a step back on what happens?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Okay, in Aachen I cried like a baby.
I'm sure.
I was very emotional. When I realised that he'd won, I was away from the ring. I went to a second collector ring to stay by myself. And then everybody started screaming, and I looked at the TV and I see that the guy was slower, and I couldn't stop crying. It was very emotional there. I was very emotionally drained. And when things don't go great, it depends. Sometimes I don't speak. I go very quiet. I think it's because, you know, we spend 24/7 with these horses, and you always want, like every groom of the jump, the 5 stars every week, you always want to win, you know. And for me especially, I want nothing more than Daniel to be number 1 in the world all the time. And when something doesn't go right, I question, did I do this good, or did I miss something, or did I put the boots on wrong? Because it's always me that does the boots. So I think, did I put them too tight, or did I put them too, you know, did I do this wrong, or did I put the right girth on today? Because Killer Queen and Tobago have I know which girth is theirs, and they have like a little mark on the front. Did I put the wrong one on? And I'm very superstitious. Did I put odd plaits, or did I plait too far? You know, and I start going crazy in the head. But yeah, I would like to win every week. I would have loved to have won last week. That would have been a nice win. It happens. Next week.
So, as I already mentioned it, we were with Gregory Boitler yesterday, and he confessed that traveling to some of the best places in the world, like Geneva last week, for example, being offered so much lust everywhere, always makes him remember that he does not belong to this world. He said that he does love this life and definitely make the most of it, but in the end, when he comes home and shares the football games with his neighbors in the village he has grown up, it's eventually what he prefers, and where he gets the highest sense of belonging. Can you relate to that? You're also traveling. You're living in Florida. You're going to Geneva. You know.
I think it's very different for me because my family's not here, you know, so I can't relate to it as such. But you know, say for instance, like normally I go to the 5-star shows every week. But when I go to a 2-star, I enjoy it so much. It's so nice. It's so less stressful. I don't plait horses. They go and jump a 140 and I'm so happy. I don't start shaking with the camera because Killer Queen's come into the triple combination of Aachen, and it's nice. I think it reminds you where you came from, and you know, like the national show in Lear a couple of weeks ago, and there was 170 horses in the class, and you don't enjoy it, but then it makes you realise 10 years ago I did this, and if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be working for one of the best riders in the world and working with the best horses in the world. If you don't start somewhere, you can't go forward in your career. You can't just expect to jump into a 5-star job. Mm-hmm. You know, I think the smaller shows and the national shows, they bring you back down a little bit, like a football game with your local friends, you know, it brings you back down to make you realise that actually this is what I did when I was younger, and it makes you feel a bit normal sometimes.